the truth of the matter, and you said it so well, Dr. Vibe, there are countless Black, African / Caribbean students, international students who are here in our cities who are struggling.
It's hard to know because we don't have like the data to say what is the state of Black health before and after. And that's something that we've been advocating for, right? We need better race-based data that's done in a way that serves us, because race-based data has been collected on different groups in ways that actually cause harm, but we need it to be done with us in a way that serves
What
us.
is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2018 Best Podcast News Award winner, given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association, and 2020 Best but I got it wrong. 2018 Innovation Award winner, given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers. It's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And that team that I'm a part of since 2020, we've been a team since 2020. I've reached out directly and indirectly to over 400,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers around the world. And as I always like to say, you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. You are watching Black Canada Talking, and what Black Canada Talking is all about. We are on when is it? When are we on? We are on Sunday afternoons. It is a Sunday afternoon. Every Sunday, 5 p.m., where we get Black Canadians to give their takes, points, and POVs about stories and events and things local, provincial, national, and international. So that's what we do. But our mainstay on Black Canada Talking is Cesar Ndema-Moussa, and he is here. What's up, Cesar?
Thank you, Dr. Vibe. Thank you, family. Thank you to all the allies. Thanks for having me as always.
It is a pleasure as always. And let me just do some housekeeping first. As always, subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Also, like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. We're almost at 1,590 subscribers on YouTube. So if you're up to it, subscribe. And if you're up to it, share it out and tell people about it. Also, to advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms that I appear on, please feel free to email me at dr.vibe@thedrbeshow.com. And finally, big shout out to Indie Soup Media, which is run by my associate and friend down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Dr. Tachi. It is an independent content creators network of over 40 independent content creators. And since it's been around for about 8-9 months now, they have over 20,000 YouTube subscribers and edited versions of almost all the conversations I do, including this one, appear on that platform. So always a big shout out to Indie Soup Media. What is going on in the world, Cesar?
Dr. Vibe, thank you so much. I'm here. I just sent you a photo of my Halloween outfit, trying to prove to my daughter that indeed I have invisible hair. And
this is, oh man, I wish you would have sent it soon. I would have shared it with you. I'm gonna see if I can maybe share a little bit with the audience. They probably won't be able to see a lot of it, but we'll put it up in the screen. Just give you a second.
We can share it at the end.
No, there he is. Halloween. Yeah. Very cool.
The Afro was alive. You know,
that was cool. How did she enjoy Halloween?
It's her favorite. It's a favorite celebration. It goes on pretty much all year long, with different princesses, and it's more like Halloween. Yes. And then in November, how do you call this? There's Moana 2 coming in theaters. So I am one of the dads in the community was going to take a couple of kids, couple of Black children to go watch it at the theater. So I want to say that we are probably close to 10 kids already.
Nice.
So yeah, making sure, Moana 2, I love a lot of the representation. Other than that, just some little points that I wanted to bring up. First of all, I was inspired to wear this sweater with congratulations to a brother of ours, LeBron James, for succeeding to have his son join the NBA. Let us not be hypocrites. Bronny made it to the NBA overwhelmingly thanks to the last name, aka his father. So a lot of brothers may hate on that move, but let's be honest. When we take many of the names in the world, such as the British Royals or Trudeau or Trump, and so many other names, some people call it father to son, other people call it nepotism. I cannot blame LeBron James for that. And of course, the NBA is moving Bronny to the G League because he doesn't have the level. But how can I hate on a father helping his son to achieve a dream? That is we as a Black community should look up to that and, not just help to make that happen, but also support our younger ones to elevate their level. Um, Another thing, very small note that I must mention. I invite everyone to watch the debate that happened. Was it this week or last week between the atheist scientist Richard Dawkins versus the so-called controversial Jordan Peterson? And you can see very much what I say about religion regarding how Jordan Peterson gets literally owned by Richard Dawkins, calling out his word salad,
Wow.
getting simple, straightforward questions regarding religion, the Bible, and Jesus Christ. And it's quite simple. Either Jordan Peterson doesn't know much about religion, but puts up a lot of intelligent big words to impress his masses, or he knows it's a lot of charlatanism, a lot of made up stuff, but he has a Christian fan base that he needs to keep. And I mean, that debate, really, you can tell underneath all the big words and the fancy words, it's kind of like, when Trump is asked a direct question, how does he answer? Left, right, up, down, big words, insult, anything but the question.
Wow.
And speaking on that, just something something important, and I really wanted to make sure to address this. Uh 2 days ago, no, what am I saying? 2 days ago, yesterday, uh, we buried a brother. We buried a brother. Um, as a good man, but beyond that, he was a husband and a father and a role model. To the bottom, today actually, it was a beautiful celebration of life. I surprised myself being in the church. No, I didn't burn as if I'm going to hell. I surprised myself remembering all the prayers as I am a former Christian Catholic. But really, it was a beautiful organization, beautiful celebration. And it was beautiful to see not just the quantity of people who showed up, but the quality, the diversity. People from Congo, from Cameroon, Nigeria, Ghana, Jamaica, Haiti, Canadians, professional students, community leaders. Brother Arnold was truly an appreciated man who leaves behind wife and children. And I really want to take a moment to invite our listeners of the Black community, allies, and anyone who comes across this video now or whenever. Let's take a moment, you know, our medical health, but also our mental health, looking out if we have a community of care, people that we can talk to. I am absolutely saying this because even as you are black, even as you are a black man, 36 years old is too young to die.
Wow. You
It's
know,
too young to die.
let you finish. Go ahead.
So it's yeah, for me, I don't know, like a couple of weeks ago, it was a close female friend, Aminata, and I don't cry at funerals. Since I buried my mother 22 years ago in Cameroon, in Douala, I've never shed tears at a funeral. Finding that I have to be the friend who is there for support of others, to give that hug, to hold our hand,
Mm.
to help to the, good organization, the traffic, the whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
kind of like that protector, that protector type of image. But I always go back to revisit days later in private, even if it's late at night. Here in Orleans, people in Ottawa would know about the Saint Joseph Church, the big church. In that cemetery, there are more and more people that I know who are buried there. When Arnold was buried there Saturday, the day before Friday, it was the aunt of my former roommate.
Wow.
And literally, her grave, because I knew her too, by the way, I'm not just dropping a name. I knew her too. My former roommate and I have been friends. I can literally tell you it's been 29 years. So I knew his aunt. She cooked for me. She's been there. I've always been welcomed in the Haitian family.
Right.
And here, our friend from Congo passing, it was beautiful to see all the people who came to honor his life. And I have a poem, a poetic composition called, it's in French, La gloire des morts, the glory of the dead. And Arnold, just as my friend Aminata and so many others, the true glory is never in the accumulation of wealth, nor in being rich and famous. But when you die, the memories you leave behind, the smiles you leave behind, the fact that people truly saying you will be missed. I hate that notion of thoughts and prayers because it means nothing. There's no action behind it. But when so many gather to say goodbye, to say till we meet again, 36 is too young to die.
Mm.
So although we are all, I mean, death is a mirror of life. We will all get there. But let us take a moment so that we can live a day longer, a month longer, a year longer. And who knows? Maybe we can make it to when our children are adults, they get married or they have children, or, it's just, since I buried my mother in 2002, I've been living really with many years of reflection on loss, grief, the afterlife, and truly, truly for me, being there as a support for any and everyone in the community, but truly in all communities, because it's a human experience. Um, Allow me to stop there, but yeah.
No, no, no. That's, you're reading my alleged mind, because just some insight. I don't know what's been going on or what's going on out there, but almost every other person I'm having communication with is sharing a challenge they're going through. And I, even up to like a few hours, it says, I don't know what's going on out there, but there are a lot of people that are going through stuff right now. A lot,
Yeah,
a lot. And for individuals like yourself and myself who love to serve and assist people, it can get overwhelming,
yes.
and and I actually, when I was driving out today and I called my dad, I said, Dad, I need some wisdom from you. I said, because when I was much younger, there was a period of time where we were losing relatives left, right, and center, whether it was health, sometimes it was violence, like them being shot.
Yeah, yeah.
And I said, like, how, when I know you is, how do you handle it? So with him being older and a lot of, and like they're getting, so how do you handle this sort of stuff? He says, you know what? You just got to live your best each day, and just do your best. He says time. He said something that one of his uncles said, and I can't. It was so wise, and I forget now. I should have written it down, but I was driving. But I had to reach out to him to get some wisdom, because it was over. It was just had a moment where I was overwhelmed. Right? Because sometimes, I don't know if you ever had that. You don't want to get that email. You don't want to get that phone call, because it's, for some reason, it's almost like bad news is coming. right? And when we see, especially our men in their 30s and younger, losing their lives, that's only an impact on their life. But I'm sure this gentleman you're referring to he have a family, how it impacts his family now, but also for years to come.
And something I'm obviously not saying this is bound to be the case for my friend's children here, but as a Black community, we need to have this painful and uncomfortable conversation beyond loss and grief, which is the fate of the children. And I say this as we are a community, and this is Cesar, the Pan Africanist leader, talking, but truly speaking as a Black man. We do have a lack of positive role models in contrast to so many messages that come from toxic entertainment.
Yep.
When Arnie died, it's not just a man, a physical body that we lost, a husband, a father, and a good role model. But to make it worse, in the times that we live in, notably, and I know Dr. Umar Johnson is listening, but I want our people to pay attention. With the growth of interracial and intercultural relationships, we have to be honest with ourselves. When the Black parent dies, too often there is a loss of connection to the Black family and the Black culture. I say this regarding my own family in regards to cousins who have stepped away from the parental duties on their own children who are biracial. We need to remember life is not truly ending because the body is dead. The soul, the culture, the spirit to be entertained and passed on. And it is great to know and to wish that uncles and friends will be present now that the person just died. What about a year later, 5 years, 10 years later? This is part of that balance in creating healthy individuals that too often we tend to shy away from. And then we wonder why we have adult Black bodies that may be employed, drive a nice car and live in a nice home, but are still living in trauma. They're having difficulties creating healthy relationships. They can name many children, but truly they are not present in the children's life as the models and the guides that it should be. Same with the woman or the men, because sometimes it is women that we lose, the men that it should be with.
Yeah, I think this is a whole other conversation built on this, and so many different topics as always you bring up in my alleged mind when you talk. Like, I'm really thinking a lot there about culture. You know, there's always this term out there for the culture. Whose culture? Who's driving that message? Right? And I've come I've come to think in my mind that the reason a lot of the reason many of the reasons why we are challenged is because our culture is challenged. Our culture is not good. So if our culture is not good, why would we be surprised that we're not in good shape?
It's not so much that our culture is not good, it's just that unfortunately in human nature, it's a philosophical paradox of the light and the shadow.
Yes. Yes.
Every light produces a shadow, and as such, the bigger the light, the greater the shadow.
Shadow. Yep. Yep.
Now, in the context of the space and time, and as well culture that we live in, one would say Western American capitalist and therefore imperialist, negativity attracts and sells more than positivity. So what ends up happening, unfortunately, is that toxic messages, not just in entertainment, but even when you look at politics, look at the language and the behaviors, just as when you look in the community, you know, um, And even when, and this is unfortunate to say, but even as a community, when we share good news, notably of success, you will notice that rarely in the Black community, notably on social media, rarely do we share good news of success from a child or man who grew up in a stable two-parent household. But we are quick to share the story of the child will become a man from a household that was very dysfunctional, uh, X amount of kids, father with violence and all that, and they still managed to rise through. This sends a message to our subconscious self in terms of our own value, just as depreciation. It's kind of like, to give an example, when you watch Fresh Prince from the 90s, everybody loved Will, Fresh Prince, but everybody loved Will, Fresh Prince, but truly, Carlton is what we should be vying to be like, a stable family household with as less dysfunctions as possible.
Okay. So, folks, the last few minutes was totally not scripted. That would just it just came from Cesar's heart. So,
I think we should remind our people that the first segments we have our three topics. That's the only three things that we
well,
like. We
but no, no, and I'm not.
everything before it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and so want to say greetings to Minnie on Cam. She said just tuned in. She says the disability community calls that inspiration porn. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick, oh, hold on. She also says it's used to motivate non-disabled people to feel better while ignoring the real problems of public access for disabled people. Got you.
I am learning. I am learning.
Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break just for a sec. Just give some grace to the heirs for a moment. And then we're going to go into our three conversation topics. So you are watching Black Canada Talking. We are broadcasting live on November 3rd. And don't leave because we got amazing topics, as always, to chat about. We'll be back in about a minute.
I was just on the Dr. Vibe show a couple weeks ago, and I wanted to talk about how wonderful the experience was. I was there to talk about a Buy Blacks article, but what I really appreciated about being on the Dr. Vibe morning show was that very quickly as my story started to unfold, Dr. Vibe was able to pivot, ask really interesting questions to give the context to the audience and listener about why the article was personal to me, who I am as an author and writer, and give all of that additional context so that the audience understands the perspective that I'm speaking from, which I think is very, very important in journalism. It was a warm experience and invitation. I had a wonderful time being on, and I would recommend anyone else interested in participating on the Dr. Vibe Morning Show do so because it's a wonderful time.
All right, that's Hilary LeBlanc of Black Atlantic and many other things. And shout out to Hilary and thank you for the good word. All right, let's get to our conversation pieces today. But before we get to that, if you want to get in touch with Cesar, email president@rootsandculturecanada.com and Facebook, Cesar Remy Emery. And also, I saw a friend of yours on Tuesday.
Surprise me.
Oh, come on. Who do you think?
It's a Peters.
Bang on. At the Federal Black Ecosystem Conference. Actually, I moderated a panel that she was on. So and I have it on video. She should reach out to me. I've got to see if I can get her a copy of it. But it was such a pleasure and was really good to. I don't think we've ever met, which was crazy. But hey, it was just really good. And wow, she was so good. She was so good. So
good person, good friend, and great ally to the cause, just as CEO of North South Development Roots and Culture Canada. She is truly my right hand in what I do in the organization.
100%. All right. And it's interesting. Our first conversation piece, Cesar, before he came on, was speaking about this and speaking to this. Now, people may, especially in Canada, people not realize this, but there's a lawsuit alleging anti-Black racism in the federal public service. and it's now heading to the federal court. Now, what I'm going to do, just before Cesar gets in on this, I'm actually going to show a television report about it to give people some context. And then Cesar, Cesar has the real deal when it comes to this stuff. So let's show this report first, and we will get to the conversation that we're going to have about it. So here we go.
Well, this is the latest chapter in what has been a nearly 4-year fight. The plaintiffs in this case have been looking for $2.5 billion in damages in lost salaries and pensions for Black employees and job applicants across 99 government departments and agencies. The allegations date back more than 5 decades. The suit, which was launched in December 2020, alleges widespread systemic discrimination that impacted roughly 45,000 employees. The certification hearing that got underway today in federal court will determine whether the case can go forward as a class action lawsuit. It is expected to last up to 12 days. Now, we heard from a number of former federal public service workers who showed up today for this highly consequential hearing.
We are calling on these public service workers who claim to want to address systemic discrimination, who claims to want to address anti-Black discrimination in the public service. We're calling on them to stop fighting Black workers in court, to work towards settling this class action, starting in the next within the next 12 days, to consent to the certification process and move towards mediation.
Federal NDP leader Jagmeet Singh showed up and stood side by side with demonstrators at today's rally, calling on the federal government to stop challenging the suit. Now, to date, it is estimated that the federal government has spent more than $8 million doing just that. Shalima Maharaj, Global News.
All right. So let's get this off. Stop sharing. And I think we're going to get that off. All right, Cesar, give us some more lens on this, because I know that you have some more information rather than just that short report we heard.
Well, first of all, that was a great summary of it, truly. I've been at the United Nations and likely returning with notably Nicholas Marcus Thompson, Bernadette Betty, Robin Brown, and many others that we see in those images, and notably who are part of this. It's important to understand that here, I mean, the amount, 2.5 billion, may seem exorbitant to many, but we're talking about 45,000 to even more. And notably, we're talking about the federal government having spent not 8 million, closer to 10 million in fighting this in court. But at the same time, this is part of the evolution of Canada. This is part of the evolution of a country where you, Dr. Vibe, coming from Jamaica, just as me coming from Cameroon, were unwanted aliens until the late 60s, early 70s to Canada. And as such, this is the scope to which people must understand this lawsuit, class action suit, is in reference to, in the nature of systemic racism, which the Canadian government itself has recognized, notably in basically signing up to the United Nations decade for people of African descent, the recognition of systemic racism in Canada, and notably upon Black federal employees. And here, talking about systemic racism, it is not just a matter of egregious or blatant racism. What about mental health? Not given. What about even the very nature of opportunities? I myself was a victim of racism in the federal sector, in a federal department. So many who are victims, and yet it's qualified as they don't fit in, when it's truly because not only are they Black, but they're there to be Black and to be outspoken. their knowledge on topics, and it may ruffle some feathers because, notably, intelligence is not associated to blackness. Now, of course, I want to make sure that people understand we need to be nuanced here. Nuanced in the sense that this is not claiming that if you are black in Canada or in the federal government, therefore you are a victim of racism. Of course not. Some people need to be bluntly told what the truth is. It's just like when we say, when we denounce police brutality, it's not to say that simply because you're black and you have an encounter with police, therefore you will be a victim of racism. No. But there is a systemic aspect to this that basically has made it that there is racism in Canada, in the federal sector for black employees. As a consultant who notably has addressed federal departments, I have been brought to address this topic and notably action suit with admittances from many, not just black, but from many that indeed there is a problem of systemic racism, aka it is there, but it's so well covered up in the culture of the country, but also organizational culture. And there's an aspect of safety that people tend to forget, which is it's not as easy to stand up, even as you see more people being hired who look like you, if the inherent culture of the place makes it that the status quo is maintained instead of people who are courageous top to the bottom. It shouldn't be from the bottom to the top. From the top to the bottom, willing to address, to unearth, and really to tackle these issues. Too often, that's not what happens. Too often, that's not what happens. So here, um, allow me, for my conversation just before the show, allow me to remind our listeners, whether you are black or not, support the Black Class Action Suit on the Facebook page, Twitter X as it's called nowadays, Instagram, and whatever platform. Of course not. It's just like indigenous people are suing the federal government. This is about bringing Canada to what it claims to be in accord to the Charter of Freedom of Rights, is to make it a better country. And it takes all of us. They are in court every morning, I think as of 9 a.m., the federal court by Queen Street West, I was told. So, yes, let us show support. Let us basically write to you MPs, you federal MPs, to basically better. Let's not forget, a few decades ago, I'm not saying centuries, when TV was black and white, a few decades ago, you, Dr. Vibe from Jamaica, as me, Cesar Ndema-Moussa from Cameroon, we were unwanted aliens in Canada. So it's not hard to figure that those who will be hired for work in federal, provincial, municipal governments are victims of systemic racism.
100%. 100%. So what so they're looking for this amount of money in damages. Are they looking for any other, I'm sure there's monetary demands. Are there any other demands that are not
Structural demands truly are also addressed beyond the financial. Structural in terms of the nature of addressing, tackling anti-black racism in the. I mean, we talk here about notably uh, an organizational structure. So I'm saying federal, but truly federal, provincial, municipal, where to what extent can one be black and safe in the office? To what extent can one basically deal with microaggressions while being black? To what extent do the complaints mechanism work beyond just pointing the finger at human resources? Because I work with human resources of different agencies, it's not always upon human resources. It is a lot also upon the senior leaders, but also upon other staff, other management to also get involved. I mean, we are in an age, notably in Canada, where we all agree racism, sexism, homophobia, at least most people would agree, homophobia should not be tolerated at work. And we should add, even though I dislike the terms, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, so many, etc., etc. Now, some people will say that's being fragile or they say snowflakes. But the truth of the matter is that even if you enjoy a position of privilege today or an identity of privilege, you do not know what tomorrow may bring you, that you may find yourself in a marginalized identity. Such, this creation of a better Canada is one that should efforts of all, notably in creating that better Canada for our children. Because this is really what it's about. Basically, we should not be leading the fight of our forefathers. My father was a Black community leader in the 90s. I would hope that my daughter will not be leading the fights that I'm leading 25 or 30 years down the road.
Interesting point. Yeah, and it ties into what we were first chatting about, also about the children, the future aspect of that. I guess good to see Robin Brown. Have not seen or talked to Robin long time.
Well, Brother Robin Brown can jump in anytime because he is even better qualified than I am to talk about the Black Class Action suit. And Robin, Dr. Vibe is extending to you an invitation to appear on the show.
I would love to. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I do have contact information for him. I know it could be sensitive what he could chat about because the trial is actually going on right now. But I know that Robin will find a way to express the truth in the way that Robin Brown can do it. So I will certainly, if not you, I got to get in contact with them because it's a very important, very, very important case.
It is very important. People don't realize, we're saying it's important. I don't think he has the media coverage that he deserves to have.
Well, that's why I'm asking him to come on here. That's why I want to have him come on here. Absolutely. All right. Well, we will move on to our next conversation topic. And it's not often we have back-to-back Canadian stories, but today we have back-to-back Canadian stories. Question: should Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau stay or go? And again, I've got another context of a story to show on the screen for people who are watching live or on replay. And if you're listening, you can't see it, obviously. But it's a little bit of a survey done by one of the more notable organizations when it comes to research in Canada, the Angus Reid Institute. And they have this story here saying, happy trails Trudeau. Loyal Liberal base wants PM to stay. Political grit voters more ready to bid him adieu. So I'm going to read a bit. This was just done October 28th. I'm just going to read a bit of it, and then Cesar will fill in. It's been a rocky start to the fall sitting period for the governing Liberals, which is a party that governs federally, nationally in Canada, which finds itself dealing with turmoil from outside and in. I'm going to go a little bit further, skip a few paragraphs. Through all of this, new data from the nonprofit Angus Reid Institute finds the Liberal universe remaining sizable, if in a purely hypothetical sense. More than half the Canadians in this poll, 55%, say they would consider supporting the party in a future federal election. The problem for the Liberals is just 21% of the decided and leaning voters currently do. So what do the Liberals do to reach their ceiling and avoid the floor? While some MPs have demanded a refresh in the form of a new leader, current Liberal voters are unsure. Half, 52%, say Trudeau should stay on for the next election, outnumbering the 1/3 of Liberal voters who believe a new leader is needed. Those who say they would definitely consider Liberals in a future election, 8% of Canadians are even more unsure, with near equal numbers saying he should stay, 39%, and go, 35%. A much larger slice of the population is those who are more difficult for the Liberals to reach. The 28% of Canadians who say they wouldn't rule the party out come next election. Within this group, a majority, 53%, believe Trudeau should step away, suggesting a new leader assume it's the right leader could broaden the leader's tent. So I will just leave it there. And so what do you think? What do you think about the poll? What do you think about the state of Trudeau, the Liberals? Go ahead, Cesar.
It's more nuanced than it seems. So obviously, it's easy to discard or dismiss the Liberals and notably Trudeau, but two important elements that we must, first and foremost, the Liberal government, for one, has been in power already for a few years, and you end up having some fatigue, just as prior to the Liberals, the Conservatives had been in power since Paul Martin and Harper. People were getting a bit fatigued of Harper. Basically by the elections of 2015, Harper was strongly leaning on anti-Muslim sentiments to get people to vote, right? Justin Trudeau literally saved the Liberal Party from what some were thinking could be extinction, as they were the third party, and to rise from there to become the majority. Since he got elected in 20 as leader of the party, and yes, we can say it, greatly thanks to his last name being the son of Pierre Elliott Trudeau, the former and so revered prime minister of the 70s. Now, that said, another aspect that we must not forget in terms of basically, the dissent that many MPs, not just a few, many MPs feel towards Prime Minister Trudeau is that many MPs actually owe the election, aka the title and position, to Justin Trudeau himself in person. The change of the nomination system in the Liberal Party in terms of nominating directly, so basically hand-picked candidates, has helped many feel a personal loyalty to Justin Trudeau than to the party itself. Now, this is also dangerous because, like, for example, unlike the Conservatives, if you have such a system, well, it helps to have nepotism because then it becomes individual loyalties over party loyalties. We can easily make the parallel with the United States when Liz Cheney is basically campaigning with Kamala Harris and saying the country over the party. And when she's saying the party, she's truly meaning Donald Trump, because for many, the loyalties are towards the individual. Do I think Trudeau should stay or go? Well, let's say he should go. Who basically has the aura of Pierre Trudeau in order to be able to bring back the Liberals and give a hope of a victory? Chrystia Freeland was basically brought forth as the potential female replacement 30 years or so after, my God, I'm forgetting her name, Campbell.
Kim Campbell.
Kim Campbell, there you go. After Kim Campbell, what was just a figurehead to avoid a crushing defeat to Brian Mulroney as the Conservatives were ousted. So Chrystia Freeland was brought forward, but there was maybe she wasn't given the spotlight that she should have because she's a woman. I do any feminist will notably address politics, like our sister Erica Iffel and the Hill Times have pointed out to the fact that Prime Minister Trudeau is not as feminist as he had led us to believe in the 2019-2020 SNC Lavalin financial and political scandal, we could say. Now here, what we have, I don't think a change at the captainship of the Liberal Party will make a difference. Matter of fact, it could make it worse, especially the closer the election could be. Now, in saying this, I first have to say Jagmeet Singh is still the rescue ship of the Liberal Party. At the Parliament, Well, the Bloc Québécois is no longer on board to save the Liberal Party. So Pierre Poilievre, feeling very strong with polls giving him, I read, 44-45% of voting intentions compared to what, 21-22% for the Liberals, 18-19 for the NDP. Of course, Pierre Poilievre and the Conservative would want to go for elections any day. The earlier, the better. Let's not forget, this is a Conservative Party that doesn't even recognize systemic racism. So the Black community would basically find itself between, I think in English you say between the hammer and the anvil, entre le marteau et l'enclume. Hein? I think that's pretty much what it is. Because what you end up seeing is that the third party, the third federal party, NDP, to which I must give notably my apologies to its leader, Jagmeet Singh, very likable fellow, very intelligent, but he, how can I put it? Of course, he's not going to come to power, but he has stood up, notably by the Black Class Action suit. So this is a man, a leader, who has literally, how can I oppose him as a Pan-Africanist, even though I'm clearly saying he's not going to come to power? And let us be careful. This is not about, you know, uh, bashing or going against the conservatives. But how can I support a party that does not recognize systemic racism? And if you look at provincial elections, this is part of the strategical, I don't want to say genius, but the strategic shift that came with a certain Prime Minister, Doug Ford, when following George Floyd, going from there's no systemic racism in Ontario to shifting very quickly to recognize systemic racism, looking at the constituents, aka the voting base in Toronto and the GTA, which is very strongly Black. You don't want to alienate such a voting population. Now, when we talk about the federal level, such is not the same reality for a conservative party that is not exactly looking at nor needing the Black vote in order to win. But the Liberal Party cannot win with that strong Black vote. And it is very clear that the NDP is increasing in its appeal to Black voters, notably with such progressive, some people would say socialist policies, notably regarding dental care. Laying out the ground for Canadian federal elections more interesting than usual. I don't think it will come in 2024 because notably in terms of the Liberal Party, there is no way to force the leader to be ousted unless they want to resign, or I mean there is a way, but the likeliness of 30, I think it would take 30 or 35, less than 40 Liberal members of Parliament to not vote on the confidence of their own party. The likeliness of such happening, aka them agreeing to go to elections to risk their own positions, is not likely. It is not to their own interests. 2025 is looking interesting in Canadian politics. Let's put it this way.
I think that this goes into a really nice segue into our final conversation topic today. We're broadcasting this on November 3rd. In 2 days, in 2 days' time, maybe, because we don't know if all the vote count will be done and completed that day. On November 5th, there is going to be, well, either 5th or 6th or 7th. Let's say by the end of this week, probably, there will be a new declared president of the United States. And just to promote, coming up this Tuesday live at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, we're going to be doing a U.S. presidential election live watch party. We had one for the Harris 45 debate. We had a vice president debate with Mr.
Tim Walz and JD Vance.
JD Vance. So we're going to close it, to hit the trifecta with this on Tuesday. So wherever you're watching this now, be there 9 p.m. on Tuesday night. We don't know, it could be a long night, family, because we don't know what's going to be happening. But kick it off, Cesar, and I'm also going to share some articles. But what are you saying at this present time in regards to the election?
I still see Kamala Harris winning.
Oh boy.
And I still see Donald Trump and the Republicans cheating. I mean, I'm just calling it what it is. And again, I had mentioned it a couple of months ago, but the historian Alan Lichtman had put it very well. Democrats lack teeth, Republicans lack morals. And this is basically what we are seeing here. Why is this election so close? It's easy to just put it on the back of, disinformation and, so many people angry, etc. But no, Democrats lack teeth. Democrats are worried about losing votes in Michigan over notably the Israel-Palestine, um, Israel, Palestine, and now Lebanon conflict. They lack teeth in terms of standing up to Israel. That's really what it is. And now you get Trump who goes in there. He went to, my God, how am I forgetting the name of this I'm forgetting what it's in Michigan, where there is a strong Arab Muslim community, where I worked in 2008 for the Obama elections, and he basically there passing as the savior of the Arab Muslim. Meanwhile, a few years ago, 2017, Trump was calling for a Muslim ban from entering the United States. At the same time, why is this close? Because the Democrats lack teeth. They lack the rapacity, the ferocity to attack the enemy directly. This is notably well illustrated with Michelle Obama message back then: when they go low, we aim high. Oh, that's not how politics work. When they go low, you bring them even lower. You crush them. That's what Trump does. He doesn't care. This is not just being a populist. This is called ultimately the most powerful position in the world. And ends up happening, and this is where you see the lack of morals. You literally have a man who is telling women that he will be the protector, whether they like it or not. Meanwhile,
I found that really interesting.
Coming from a man who, let me see, he has cheated on all his wives. Imagine if he was a black man. He is a politician known to have slept with a sex worker, aka porn star. Imagine if he was a black man. And he literally has a tape of him talking about grabbing wood. Imagine if he was a black politician. And as if it's not enough, he has been convicted of sexual assault, borderline, or maybe truly rape. Who can imagine a black politician getting away with so much? Who can do that?
No.
Unimaginable. Unimaginable.
I want to
bring the lack of morals is as guaranteed as the fact that the reason this election is so close is because for Democrats, the lack of teeth to go directly to basically this kind of moral superiority that the Democrats have. Meanwhile, why would they have such a moral superiority? Trump is right in one thing, is that many Democrats have been war hawks. Obviously, his comments calling on Liz Cheney to be in front of a firing squad, that is out of line. But out of line from someone who for the last 40 years has been out of line. I mean, I'm saying 40 years. You go back to the 70s, housing discrimination upon black tenants. 1989, the Central Park exit, aka Exonerated 5. We talk about birtherism on Obama, the comments, the insults on Kamala Harris. Where is drawing the line? So just because you have some photos with some black celebrities, you end up having some black people supporting Donald Trump and not to be talking better under the Trump administration, aka those are the economic policies and social policies that Barack Obama put in place. That's why many people have the Affordable Care Act that even John McCain, who basically competed against Obama in 2008 to office, even John McCain stood up to defend the Affordable Care Act that Obama put in place. And Trump probably can't swallow that he couldn't get rid of it. I mean, yeah, I still see Kamala Harris winning. It would be tight, it would be close. It could very much look like Bush versus Gore in 2000. I mean, people have to understand something. Since 1992, we're talking about 32 years now, the Republicans have not won the majority vote in the United States. I might be wrong, but as far as I can think, since 1992, aka Bill Clinton, the Republicans have not won the majority vote, but they have kept working on political and legal loopholes to suppress the vote, and if not outright, to cheat. And as we saw January 6, 2021, an insurrection. I hope Washington police will be better prepared. Congress police will be better prepared. And I dare to say, because, if you listen to MAGA radio and you listen to many of MAGA supporters, I mean, I go to a gym here in Ottawa. We have this guy, yes, he's white, with his MAGA hat, MAGA shirt, clearly letting everyone know that he supports Donald Trump. This is in Ottawa, Ontario. So, a civil war will come out of this in the name of the cult leader, aka Donald Trump, who is obsessed with people's genitals, including men genitals, aka Arnold Palmer, just as he's obsessed with being grandiose and being looked at as President Xi of China, or Vladimir Putin of Russia, and Kim Jong from North Korea, which are different, aka autocratic dictatorial systems. This election is about the soul of America. I am not paid by the Kamala Harris campaign to say what I'm saying, but it is about the soul of America and the future of America. This is an election of progressive diversity, equity, inclusivity, DEI, versus white supremacy and whiteness on the ballot. It is not a joke. And my black people, please be safe. White allies, non-black allies, please be safe. Whatever the result, I am absolutely sure there will be violence. Will it be on November 5? Will it be on January 6th, 2025? January 20th, 2025? But political violence is growing more and more in the United States, just as the radical rhetoric. It is not going to lessen whatever the result of this upcoming election. For all that, I want a unifier as Kamala Harris to win and to become the first black woman president of the United States.
Well, is the lady of the house at the door? Because I heard noise in the background. Is she up there?
No, they were just running. It's
okay. I thought I'd go, oh, we're getting our warning sign.
They've had a dinner. She has one of her 3-year-old friends who are here. They had a dinner. They're happy.
Well, speaking of which, Dr. Tachi is here, and she's going to be one of our panelists on Tuesday night in regards to election. So I know I have a few more minutes, so I'm going to squeeze.
Hello, my sister.
I'm going to squeeze some things in regards to latest things that being said. So this is from The Guardian. They're saying the latest polling average over a moving 10-day period, Kamala Harris 48%, 45, 47%. Latest analysis, nationally, Harris has a 1-point advantage over her Republican opponent, virtually identical to last week. Such an advantage is well within the margin of errors of most polls. The battleground states, too, remain in a dead heat. But in a fractured political landscape that has featured pictured threats of retribution from 45, accusations of fascism and racism from Harris, and warnings of democracy itself is on the ballot. The bigger picture, that uniformity over a prolonged period, has seasoned observers scratching their heads.
If I can add, Dr. Vibe,
Go ahead.
I'm not sure that it will be as close as it is painted. 48, 47%. We already know Trump doesn't have the room, and he hasn't tried to have the bigger tent to have more than 47% of votes. And 3 days before the election, how many people are actually undecided? When I think about so many non-whites who were supporting Trump, well, if you are Latino, especially Puerto Rican, you saw what happened last Monday. You've seen what has happened since. I mean, it wasn't that long ago, basically, that, it was in reference to Africa. Now, Puerto Rico is a garbage island. And of course, this is a direct message to also the Mexicanos and the other Chicanos in the US. The women vote. There is a gender gap they talk about in terms of more men, but when they say more men, let's be honest, more white men voting for Trump. And yet, even in saying more white men, there has been more white men coming towards Harris. I'm not saying more than for Trump, but more than expected coming towards Harris due to notably all the conversation on abortion. So many women, notably Black women, have been dying due to these, basically the repeal of Roe versus Wade. The Dobbs decision has led to women dying. Just this week, a 28-year-old woman, I can't remember if she died by sepsis, but basically in the richest, most advanced country in the world, you literally are having women dying for reasons that even in Africa they could have been saved. And yes, in Africa that he referred to as the vote of women, the vote of Latino, the vote of Black, gender and racial community that is expected to vote the highest for Kamala Harris. Absolutely, we will have over 10% of Black men voting for Trump. But where's the surprise? We see Black Republicans on the air, notably on CNN, bending over backward, doing mental gymnastics to try to pretend like Trump is not being racist. Meanwhile, they could have been part of the Central Park Five. I found such brothers. Don't forget, when we watch Django, those are the brothers who basically are supporting the slave master. Those are the brothers who are betraying the African uprising. That's what we're talking about. So, I don't know if it will be that close. Likely, yes, it will be, but I'm not sure because many people, even among those Republicans, and let's be fair to white people, many white people are tired of Trump. Many white people, they may not like EDI or being basically pointed the fingers as if they're racist because they're white, but also looking at Trump and saying January 6th, I'm not cool with that. COVID, a lot of people died.
They have short memories. I think that, and I think, and just off the fly, I think Ms. Harris may win the popular vote, but the electoral vote 45 will win.
For college, and this is what I mean also. The American system, as much as the American propaganda about being the greatest nation and democracy and all that, it is not. It's a corrupt system. It is a corrupt system. No, it is a corrupt system. Let's face it. What's the point of winning the popular vote, democracy, if you lose a so-called electoral college? Like, this is the type of thing that would make some people say, well, what's the point of voting then? If ultimately it is this electoral college, and further than the electoral college, going to the Supreme Court, aka Gore versus Bush 2000, what is the point? So literally, and again, for those who are in doubt, I am not paid by the Harris campaign. I am not a Democrat, and I'm not even a liberal. I've already said it. Anyone who knows me knows. I don't ascribe to the left-right political tendencies of of Western politics. I'm a Pan-Africanist. Call me, how do you call that? Independent. Hi, Michelle. Michelle Batty put it well. Orange men should be incarcerated. Let's be fair. What white politician can even dream of getting away with so much of what Trump has done? Of course, he should be incarcerated. It shows you. If there's one thing I have to say about Donald Trump, I have to give it to him as a compliment. I would almost say as a praise. Donald Trump is the gift that keeps on giving in exposing white supremacy at a political and social level. He gets away with all of this because he's at the intersectionality of being a white man of Christian background and notably a billionaire who is connected into the system. I don't do conspiracies, so the photos of Trump with Jeffrey Epstein, put that on the side. But again, as I've said so many times, white evangelical Christians, how do you support a man who literally is in contradiction of all the Christian values that you claim to be about, starting with cheating on all of his wives, his language, his treatment upon women, upon the migrants, upon fellow human beings, including soldiers, veterans, a man who dodged the draft, I heard 5 times. As Mitch McConnell said himself, Trump is a despicable human being. This is not me, Cesar, saying it. I don't know Donald Trump. I have no relation with Donald Trump. He has never hurt me. As a black man, of course I oppose him. But I'm taking from one of his own supporters who literally kissed the ring despite him insulting his wife, but it was revealed. Despicable human being. J.D. Vance talking of Trump as American Nazi. Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, Donald Trump exposes America and the white supremacy, money-driven political nature of it. I love it.
I'll bring up another thing here too. A very interesting survey. So I'll bring this one up, and I think since Cesar, you're a Pan-Africanist and a globalist, want to bring this up for you too. A very interesting thing. Says, who do Europeans want to win the 2024 U.S. presidential election? And this article, I'll just go highlight. Europeans think there's likely to be violence in the U.S. if 45 doesn't win. This is from the YouGov, UK, written by Matthew Smith, head of data journalism. Europeans think there'll likely be violence if the U.S. if 45 doesn't win. Now a new YouGov Eurotrack study uncovers attitudes towards the election in 7 Western European countries: Britain, Denmark, France, Germany, Italy, Spain, and Sweden. The results show that Harris is the favorite candidate in each country surveyed. The Danes are the most likely want Harris to win at 81%, while the Italians are the least at 46%, although this significantly outnumbers the Italian 45 vote of 24%. So all the numbers that are blue, so Denmark, 81% want Harris. 73% Sweden, Germany 71%, Spain 65%, France 62%, Britain 61%, and Italy 46%. So,
I mean, a lot of people have fear, notably when you look at Trump's age, aka the oldest candidate to run for the position, but also what is becoming clearer and clearer: dementia, or, and I'm not a medical person, but I've heard from others talking about dementia and his lapses in judgment, notably when you have some of his former highest staff, including generals, talking about this man, Donald Trump, must never become president again. But let's also be fair. There are also people who hope Donald Trump becomes president because, and I've heard from many Africans, they hope Trump becomes president because at least with Trump, he didn't care about Africa. He did not care about Africa. And for many people, they felt like it was a time with less risk of a global war or even conflicts as a whole. So my question is basically between today and Tuesday afternoon or Tuesday night, what could Netanyahu or Putin do that could have a play in the election? Hate and fear are strong drivers in elections.
So here's from the same article: Western Europeans think that Joe Biden has been an average president, that Kamala Harris would be a decent one, and 45 would be a bad one. So, so it's just really, really interesting article in here in regards to this. So it may be the only, one of the few countries in the world that want 45 to be president are the people who vote for him in America.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of them, but it's this election is really about, and I mean, in 4 years or 8 years and 12 years, we likely be still saying the same. But really, each election is about the future, but also the soul of the country. But rarely has it been so polarized. When I say so polarized,
wow.
In terms of my knowledge of American politics and history, and I'm looking back at my university course on American politics, I think you got to go back to, my gosh, 1860 election that basically was a preamble on the status of the Union, aka leading to the Civil War.
But Cesar, it's interesting you mentioned, and I was talking about it last night on Primetime with Aisha and Lala. I was listening to a report on NPR this week, and Frank Luntz, who's a very, very well-known pollster, he used to do polling for the Republican Party. He doesn't do it anymore because he's not a fan of 45. He held a little, focus group with about 15 men. Now, he didn't say what their cultural background was. I'll put a pin on that. But each one of these men basically said, you know what? The majority of said that the Democratic Party is anti-men. And the reason why they liked 45, he's a strong man. And they said that they would be okay voting in the past for Hillary Clinton and Michelle Obama, but they wouldn't be okay voting for Kamala Harris. And they felt that, well, she doesn't have enough political experience. But reading between the lines, they say, you know what? Because they didn't have a strong man, aka their husband, who had been a leader. So a lady on her own who doesn't have, her partner doesn't have political experience, she's not as good enough. What do you think of that sort of thought process by this group of men, or men saying, well, she isn't qualified enough because she doesn't have enough political experience or whatever?
How far back do you want me to go in history? Because I can go thousands of years to answer this question. Look, this is honestly, I absolutely understand. As a man, I do understand the argument of these men. But at the same time, it is sexist. How many men have ever been elected judged by the quality of who is the woman? Because those same men, judged by that logic, we should not be voting for Trump. Trump is married to a woman who was a naked cover for magazines. How many of those men would want the woman to go pose naked in a magazine? If we ought to be honest and basically make it fair, Trump and his stories of cheating, aka being the New York playboy, etc., etc. How many of these men would want their daughter to be married to a man like that? If you remove the mentioned billionaire, how many of them would approve? So the hypocrisy of men, and for those who don't know, I am not a feminist, so this is not some type of vote for a woman just because she's a woman or to make history. But the hypocrisy of men is to hold accountable Kamala Harris for the quality of her husband, unknown Doug Emhoff. And let's be blunt here. He's white, he's Jewish, and he didn't have biological children with Kamala Harris. There are many men that were bothered by such. Okay, sure. But how many times have ever voted for a man wondering what is the quality of his wife? What does she do? Is she educated? Did she serve? Is she a strong black woman? When Mayor Bill de Blasio in New York got elected, white man of Italian background, how many people voted for him looking at his black wife, who is a black and feminist militant, saying, oh, that's a strong man. He has a strong black woman back home. Absolutely. Michelle Obama comes with Barack Obama. Yes. Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton. Yes. So that's why I'm saying I understand. But if you are truly honest, how many men have ever cared about the quality of a wife or girlfriend in saying, I like Tom Brady, I like Michael Jordan or LeBron James, I like this politician instead of that politician? Right here in Canada, how many men will go vote for Pierre Poilievre or Justin Trudeau, wondering about the quality of the wife? Let us be fair to women, because fairness to women is fairness to our own daughters, our sisters, our mothers. I get the argument as a man, but let's also be fair here. How many Barack Obama and Bill Clinton are out there for a woman to have such a quality of a man, of a politician, to say, this is my partner, you can trust my leadership? Let's be fair to Doug Emhoff here. Because truly, nobody has voted for Trump in 2016 as today because of the quality of his wife. Oh, yes, some white people, white supremacists, definitely have voted for this white, fake blonde hair and tan man with his white wife. Yes, we know that. But it was for the image. It wasn't for, is she educated? Is she involved in politics? What humanitarian work did she do? Look at the former Mrs. Gates, Melinda Gates, greatly involved. Look at the former Mrs. Bezos, greatly involved in humanitarian work. But nobody is supporting them because nobody is supporting these men or investing in the companies because of their wife or ex-wives. How many mothers of children does Elon Musk has with his 9 children? If Trump was a black man or if Musk was a black man, how much support would he have with people looking at the private life and saying, I can't support a man with those things like that? If we had a black Trump, aka salutations to Helter Skelter, Black Trump, I invite people to look it up. If you had a black Trump running for president, how many white evangelicals would support him, considering his private
I
life?
think that question should be asked of white evangelicals. I would really, again, the media, if the media is really doing their job, they should go out and ask them that question.
I've always said it, and when I say I've always said it, let me give credit to the men who brought that reflection upon me. Our reverend leader, hero, Dr. Martin Luther King. White evangelicals are likely the biggest hypocrites in American politics and society. In the name of power, they will absolutely support policies, measures, and men who are the very contradiction of what the Bible and Christian values speak about. And it has never been so best illustrated as in the person of Trump. This is notably why you have someone like Liz Cheney saying George W. Bush has to come out and speak up for the salvation of America. White evangelical Christians are a hypocrisy that contributes to fueling white supremacy in America under the claim of Jesus. That's why it's called Christian fascism, Christian nationalism. Let's not forget, Christianity was imposed to blacks by slavery and colonization. Kunta Kinte. So this is a continuation of things. It's about power. Jesus, the Bible, the 10 Commandments, power And proximity to power make a lot of people put on masks. Mitch McConnell, Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio. Where's Mitt Romney to openly state that he opposed Trump? He fears for the lives of his grandchildren. He talked about security. But everybody knows he opposes Trump. He made that clear. Where's George W. Bush? We need to have that question. The finger should not be pointed at so much at black men. And yes, the Democratic Party comes off as anti-man because the Democratic Party is not scared to address the social issues of our time, notably regarding race, aka DEI, gender. You have the Me Too situation, but you also have women's rights, notably regarding abortion, and so many other issues. I mean, we are talking about the richest and most powerful country in the world that is able to free up billions of dollars for American bombs to kill innocents in Gaza and now Lebanon and all over the Middle East. And please, don't get me wrong. We must oppose anti-Semitism, aka anti-Jewish sentiments and actions. But it will never justify the killing of thousands upon thousands of innocents who are not Jewish nor Israelis.
Wow. Yeah, it's gonna be Tuesday is gonna be some kind of night. It's gonna be some. We're gonna see some really interesting things. So you have Harris winning both popular vote and electoral.
She could win the electoral. Yeah, it's not the problem is that it's not a fair field in which you're basically going to a basketball or football game, aka soccer, in which no matter how good you play, you already know the rules are against you, and likely the referee, aka the Supreme Court, is against you. Ultimately, whatever happens, it's bound to end at this. So there are only two scenarios that can happen in a Harris defeat. A 2000 scenario, aka Supreme Court, that sided with Bush, although Gore had won the popular vote, or a 2016 situation in which Clinton won the popular vote but lost the Electoral College. It speaks to the nature of American politics in regard to a Supreme Court that's heavily to the right, notably with Trump appointees, and it speaks to the very nature of rules and fundamental of American politics, in which why do you claim to be a democracy when the popular vote can be defeated by a so-called electoral college? How many people in the States have any clue who are the so-called members of the electoral college?
No clue.
It is legal. It's like lobbying. In the Western world, they say lobbying. In Africa and the rest of the world, they say corruption. That's what it is. We must dare to speak the truth with courage in order to fix, repair the systems that we are dealing with.
100%. 100%.
Thank you, Michelle. I saw the
Yeah,
comment.
Michelle is saying yes. Thank you for. Michelle says thank you for your superb perspective, Cesar. Well, it's the final countdown is on, my brother. The final countdown is on Tuesday,
and we will be here Tuesday night.
Tuesday, like I said, coming up this Tuesday, November 5th. I would suggest, and again, what makes this live watch party unique, I don't think anyone else is going to have it. We've got at least three queens from the U.S. Aisha K. Staggers, Laura Lala Key, and Dr. Tachi, Black American queens. And we may even have Jill Jones. From Canada, we have two kings, Cesar and Ryan O'Neill Knight. So this is a international conversation, U.S.-Canada conversation. I don't think too many online platforms will have that perspective. I know many American platforms, you got your ABCs, NBC, CBS, PBS. I know Angela Rye's native podcasts will have their thing, but they won't be asking Canadian perspective, Black Canadian perspective, especially. So that's why you got to be on here Tuesday. Cesar, any final words before we let you run?
As final words, as I was saying from the start, let us support each other. like I was saying, LeBron James. Let us support our younger ones, help them, prepare better structures for them to strive. But let us also celebrate our own Black lives while alive. Let us be there for one another, mental health support, community care, medical support. Too many of our people, unfortunately, are having uh, ailments, diseases, health conditions, but they're either ashamed or fearful to speak of it. I give an example of the HIV. HIV is still killing Black people in the world and in our communities. People are ashamed. But at the same time, whether it's dealing with any cardiovascular issues, any mental health issues, and anxiety and depression up, everybody can have them. The management of it is the question. Let us dare to be a community of care instead of just a community of entertainers, of consumerists, and of course, religion.
All right. On the screen is where you can get a hold of Cesar. It's also in the comment sections on most of the platforms you're watching this live or on the replay. Email president at rootsandculturecanada.com. Facebook, Cesar Remy Emery. Cesar, always a pleasure to have you on. Looking forward to seeing you on Tuesday. You take care, as always, to you and your family. Don't just manage your time, manage your energy, and remember to give yourself grace.
Thank you always, Dr. Vibe. I love the opportunity, and thank you to everyone, brothers, sisters, and allies. Thank you.
Take care. All right, everybody, that is it. Another epic conversation on Black Canada Talking. And again, be with us on Tuesday. Thank you very much. This coming Tuesday. So a few things. Always subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button so we get to those 1,580. I like to say 1,800, but I'm going to say 1,800 YouTube subscribers. Share it out. Tell people about it. Also, like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. To advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms that I appear on, please feel free to email me, dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. And you can watch replays of this epic conversation on the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. And then the Dr. Vibe Show, www.thedrvibeshow.com. As we close out, this is what we do. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions and aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. And as always, don't just manage your time, manage your energy, and remember to give yourselves grace. God bless. Peace be well. Keep the faith and walk good. And again, be here 9 p.m. Tuesday evening, November 5th. Game changing in whatever way the results are. Be well and keep the faith.